Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Jay from Keeping It Real, your arbiter of gaming news and commentary, hitting you off with a studio production video where you know this is your channel, where all gamers' voices are heard. With your boy Jay, always dropping the word. Keeping them other gaming YouTubers like, what you heard? And where you always know, we always keep it all the way real. So what's up, everybody? I just want to thank you all for checking out my studio production video today. And yeah, man, I just wanted to do a video on an interesting topic that has been, I think, been talked about recently in the Xbox community especially. And you know, these are some things about, you know, Microsoft and the choices that they're making in regards to games, and the, you know, in regards to the games that they're going to be, the exclusives that they're looking forward to in the next 9 months or so. It looks like the pitchforks are out and the torches are out for Shannon. You know, she's, you know, one of the heads of Xbox, that's, you know, in that works with making these decisions, and is one of the, you know, speaks to the media about games that are being chosen to be talked about and games that are coming within the next 9 months. So right now, you know, there's different voices that are speaking out about the direction that Xbox is going in regards to exclusives. So I'm gonna dig into, you know, the real reason why Microsoft is really not talking about a lot of big AAA exclusives aside from what they've already talked about before. And I wanted to go ahead and speak my piece on it, because you guys know this is you know, when I dig into these real reasons, you know, I really try to take my time to really dig into the facts about what's going on and look at the big picture. Because right now, man, you got a lot of Xbox guys that are kind of freaking out about this whole thing, and it's to be understood. You know, a lot of these guys, including myself, are really invested into the future of Xbox, and, you know, we pour our hearts into this. So, you know, it's understood how guys can be concerned. But I wanted to really just, you know, kind of put some perspective on this, and, you know, open this up to the, you know, it could be seen from many different views, and then you can look at it from a different point of view and from the broader perspective. Because I think once I dig into the real reason why Microsoft is doing what they're doing in regards to AAA titles, I think it'll become a lot more clear about why they're making the decisions they're making. So first of all, I just want to talk about a lot of the controversy that's going on. You know, I spoke about Shannon, and it looks like they're getting the torches and pitchforks out. It looks like, you know, there's a segment of, you know, Xbox guys and just the community that just are really not happy with Zoo Tycoon and, you know, Disney World games and these kind of kiddie games. Now, I spoke about this on my last video, and I spoke about it from the perspective of, you have to understand, as a company, they're looking to diversify themselves. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that don't buy JRPGs either, but you can see Microsoft is, you know, trying to make sure they provide that for the gamers who do play it. There's a lot of guys that don't play a lot of different games, but that doesn't mean the platform won't have those games available for many people who do play it. So I just spoke about it as, you know, touching on the fact that this is a company at the end of the day. It is a business, and as a business, they want to diversify themselves as much as possible to make sure that they can meet the different demographics of the gamers. Now, you know, there's some other guys that feels like, well, you know, the hardcore is Xbox, and Xbox is hardcore. And me personally, I think that goes on personal opinion. Me personally, I don't agree with that. Not wholeheartedly. I don't agree that, bar none, Xbox is hardcore and hardcore is Xbox. Meaning that the you know, the majority of the demographic of Xbox players are all hardcore players. I just don't agree with that. And I don't think that's necessarily the case at all. I think just like any other platform, you're going to have a good demographic of hardcore gamers. But then you got to start digging into what does hardcore really mean? You know what I mean? Like, if you really think about it, hardcore can mean a lot of things, man. You could be playing, there could be people who are hardcore and they're playing Mario. They're hardcore gamers. You know what I mean? And they know every ins and out of Mario. Hardcore could simply mean that you play a lot, you know every ins and out of the game, you've gotten every achievement or award in the game, and you've beaten the game 10 times over, you know every spec of that game backwards and forwards. That could be hardcore too, you know what I mean? But I think when these guys are saying this, I'm just making this assumption, I think they're speaking more towards the AAA, more gritty and adult type titles. I mean, titles like Gears of War and Halo. They want big AAA titles that are more driven towards guys who like those gritty, more type games, and I think that's what they're speaking to. And if you guys know and you think I'm wrong, you can go ahead and hit me up in the comment box. But I think that's what they're speaking to when they're saying hardcore. And for me personally, I believe that there's a lot of games that are either that or all the way to the extent of a Zoo Tycoon. Shit, I had a lot of fun with Slimy Rancher, or Rancher Slimy, whatever that game's called. I actually got to do a review for that game, by the way. But yeah, I love that game. Love it. I mean, and that game is just basically farming, farming and breeding these little Slimies. And I had a ball with that game. But trust and believe, I fit within that same demographic of guys that a lot of Xbox guys right now in our community are talking about when it comes to hardcore gamers. I play all those games that they're talking about. I play the Halos, the God of Wars, the Destinies, all the AAA titles. I play them, and I'm up on them. Division and all these type of games that you would be those type of gritty, more gritty, first person or third person shooters. I'm playing those games and loving them, and I'm more driven towards those type of AAA titles of games. Of course, I am, and those big type of games, I love them. But guess what? I'm a hardcore gamer in that sense, where I love those type of games. But I also love games like Rancher Slimy. That is a game that that's a game that I spent most of my time in. Than a lot of my other games like Dishonored 2 and a lot of other games that I got. I've spent a lot of time into that. And that's a Rancher game. So that tells you that just because I'm into those games doesn't necessarily mean I won't love a game like Ori or Ori and the Blind Forest or which is another game I love. It's like you can't take it as if it just depends on what that game is and how the gameplay in that game, does it capture a person's interest? Do they enjoy? Is the gameplay enjoyable? There's so many factors that goes into a game other than it being just a gory type of shooter game, and that's the only thing you're into. And I think you're making a mistake when you act like that's the whole thing of what Xbox gamers are all about. Like, I don't really think that's necessarily true at all. I think Xbox gamers are very diverse, and they'll what game they like depends on the game. You know what I mean? And it doesn't it's not a cookie cutter, one fits all, where it has to be a gritty, bloody game, and that's the only way, gamers are going to like it, or it has to be a AAA, big budget title game where that's the only way they're going to like it. You know how many games that were AA games or even indie games that are great and people love just the same? And I think if you don't have that diverse lineup that has those gritty games along with those indie games and along with those kiddie games, you're kind of doing yourself a disjustice as a platform. And you got to understand, when it comes to digging into the real reason, you got to understand that Microsoft has a plan in what they're doing, and they've already decided, and I think this is pretty clear. Phil made this pretty clear, that they're not really looking to start announcing bigger games that are too early out. They just really don't want to do that. And I think there's a big debate right now about what timing that really should be. But I think at the large part of it, I think we just got to trust Microsoft to just, you know, put their games out there at a timing they know, because you got to understand, they're the only ones who knows the timing on the developing of these games. They're the ones that knows the timing on when these games are possibly going to be released. We don't know that. So for us to be bitching and whining about stuff that right now, you know, we just need to just be relaxing and allowing them to announce things as the time that they need to, you know what I mean? Instead of just being so pushy about it. Because the way I see it is that, yes, it's a legitimate concern to be concerned about the direction, but you don't want to get that confused with thinking that, oh, they're not releasing any AAA titles, or they're not releasing any gory AAA titles. Shit, man. Next year at E3, we could find out that they got 3 big, you know, first party AAA titles that are freaking ridiculous and just the way we want them. We wouldn't know that. You know, and Microsoft right now obviously ain't gonna really tell us that. What they're looking to do is release the games they've already announced. They just had an E3. Chill the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? They announced what, 40 some odd games. Relax. I think getting your panties up in a bunch right now and getting all upset about unannounced worrying about unannounced AAA titles right now, I think that's a waste of time. I think they've already made clear, hey, look, they're investing $1 billion into AAA titles and first party titles, and they have a commitment to single player game as well as shared world games, and or just into, they have a commitment into first party titles overall. So I think complaining about that or being worried about well if it's going to be a indie game or if it's going to be like a kiddie game, I think that's not something we should be worrying about, because I think if there's one thing we should know for sure right now is that Microsoft understands the importance of getting those type of games out to the, I don't think they're not, oh, we just all of a sudden we don't know what our Xbox gamers want. You know what I mean? And it's not like gamers don't tell Microsoft what they want. You know what I'm saying? It's like you act like they don't do research group studies where when they're looking into making new titles, they don't go through the process of actually listening to what gamers would like or what they're interested in, and then shape their titles based on that interest. Like, you got to understand, when they make a Zoo Tycoon, they make any of these other games, what they're looking at is their investment versus their revenue. Okay, so a lot of those guys is bitching and complaining about wanting more games like that. You got to ask yourself, did you buy those games like Sunset Overdrive? Did you buy Recore? Did you buy Quantum Break? If you didn't buy those games, you especially shouldn't be saying anything, because you got to understand, they're going to look at, okay, how well those games sell versus games like Zoo Tycoon in Disney World or whatever that game is called. They're going to look at that and then say, okay, well, how well those games are selling versus the other games. And you got to understand, what they're going to do is they're going to look at their investment versus their risks that they're taking, and versus the revenue that is the outcome. And they're going to base what they're doing off of that, along with group studies of looking at what gamers are interested in and what would they like to see in the future. Along with feedback from other games, along with gamers just straight up telling them, this is the type of games I would want, whether it be Facebook or whether it be Twitter. You got to understand, they're smart enough to figure this stuff out, look at what gamers want, and go ahead and make sure they're making games to do that. You know, it's a process. They don't just unilaterally on their own just make games regardless of what gamers like and not knowing what their fan base like. I mean, that makes no sense. If that was the case, they wouldn't be making the X. So it's obvious that they're very well in touch with what gamers want. Just because some of the lineups of games that you've seen are kiddie, that you may not like or you may not be interested in, doesn't mean that that's just going to be the future of Xbox. They're just not going to, I mean, that kind of way of thinking is the same type of ridiculous way that people were thinking when Phil Spencer was talking about the fact that, when it comes to the true reality of what single player games are, a lot of people misunderstood everything he was saying and making it like, oh, he's not going to make first person games anymore. See that ridiculous jump to judgment instead of actually look at the facts of what everything is, look at what Microsoft has been doing in the past, look at what they have out, and and take that. No, they just take it, oh well, he said that, since he said that, well, I guess they're not making first party single player games anymore. Now everything that they're going to do is going to be multiplayer, it's going to be shared world. They're not doing any single player games anymore. So you see how ridiculous that is, and see how that's just jumping the gun. Like, this is what I think that this is, when you start thinking that, oh well, shoot, they ain't gonna be making no more, like, what, they're only gonna be making kiddie games moving forward. This is what Xbox gamers don't care about that, the fans don't care about that. Well, when you say that, you're making that same assumption, instead of just look at the fact that, okay, hello, they got a diverse lineup of games. Look at their E3. It was a very diverse lineup of games. So of course they're going to have games for guys like you and me, where we love those type of gritty type games and shooters and stuff, but they're also going to have those type of games for the kiddos, like my kids that like to play Xbox. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Relax. Let them announce games. Let next E3 come. Then that's when you're going to get a good view of what the next year to a year and a half to 2 years is you're going to see. Obviously, it looks like Microsoft right now is trying to keep it to a year to 2 year, no more than a year, 2 years and a half type time frame. And I can respect that. Yes, for a lot of guys that would like to see it to be further out so guys can get excited. Yeah, I can get that too. But the fact is that you got to understand it from Microsoft's point of view, and understand it from the real reason why they don't do this is because what they don't want to do is announce games out too early. It's kind of funny, man. I feel like Microsoft, they can't win for losing. You know what I'm saying? They announce games too early and they get beat up for that. You know what I mean? It's all this shit about them announcing games early. Then when they try to do the right thing and say, well, we're just not going to announce games out too early, then they get shit for that. Then people just believe, oh my God, they're not going to have hardcore games anymore for the hardcore fans. Like, just because they're not announcing these big games, we want to know right now. You got to make up your mind. You can't have it both ways. You got to either say, hey, I don't want games being announced out too early and run into the problem it might be delayed or it might be canceled. And I don't want to be sitting here waiting for a game that takes forever, because this is a thing that we criticize Sony about. And then you want to have Microsoft practice those same practices. Like, I don't get that. Like, that's, to me, is just hypocritical and it's ridiculous, because if you really think about it, like, you can't have it both ways. You got to have either one or the other. So it kind of trips me out that Microsoft says, okay, well, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do like what we did with Cuphead and like we did with Crackdown. We're going to try to do this the right way. And then they get criticized for that. It's like, so I think for Microsoft, the real reason why they're doing is because they seen from what works. They have their internal numbers. They know what sells and what doesn't sell. If it's, the proof is in the numbers about how many hardcore, when it comes to shooters like that there is. If that was the case, we should have, if it was mainly all nothing but the type of guys that you guys are, a lot of these gamers, Xbox guys are saying like right now that it's all about the hardcore gamers. If that was the case, I think there would have been a lot more of those type of games when Microsoft put those new IPs out. It would have sold better, right? I mean, you got to look at the numbers. You got to look at the facts. I mean, you could say you as a person believes that, but you also got to look at statistics. If statistics show that a lot of people out of the 20 to 30 some odd million people who has an Xbox, and if it didn't even crack 2 million or 3 million, then that would tell you, yeah, it's probably not that many hardcore gamers as you say in a way that you think it is. That's not most of Xbox. That would tell you that's probably not true, right? And if you get those type of hardcore games coming out, that are coming out, and you're not seeing the new, I'm talking about in regards to new IPs that are coming out and they're not selling well, you got to understand that Microsoft looks at that and says, okay, well, doesn't look like we're having a huge demand for these type of games. You can't expect Microsoft to just be like, well, there doesn't seem a huge demand for these type of games and just keep selling them anyway. Like, I don't understand that. Like, that's like saying, yeah, I expect this company just to keep losing money. and I don't care. It's like, come on, man, this business doesn't work that way. It's just unrealistic and it's ridiculous. But that being said, that doesn't mean that Microsoft is just gonna all of a sudden stop making those type of games. Of course, they've already said they're committed to that, and obviously they're going to be. And I think at this point, guys just need to chill the hell out and just wait till this next year's E3. We already know what's announced. Be looking forward for that, and be looking forward to playing it on the most powerful console ever made, and then having all the best multiplats. We're going to see a lot of things that we can be excited for. Trust me, we're going to have more than enough games to hold us over until we see what Microsoft is cooking up for when next year's E3. Trust and believe, we got more than enough games to hold us over until then. So the thing is I would say just chill the hell out. When it comes down to it, the real reason is Microsoft simply knows their own numbers internally, and they're doing the best thing that what they can do that's based off of what the policy of what they're setting forward moving forward, which is based on a policy that doesn't announce games way too early. And I think Microsoft has chosen which one they're going to stick with. And it looks like when it comes to Phil, he's sticking with saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to have games be we're not going to announce games that are too far out. The most it looks like is going to be 2 to 2.5 years. And I agree with that personally. And I know there's guys who don't agree with me. That's fine, but that is the real reason why Microsoft is doing this. They're actually doing what they said they were going to do, and that is not announce games out way too early. And they're just keeping to first of all, getting the games out that they've already announced and making sure they're good quality games and they're coming out on the times that they're supposed to, along with getting the most powerful console out that's ever been made. So I think they pretty much got their hands full, and guys should just kind of relax and let Microsoft do their work. All right, man. So that's my video on that. I want you guys to go ahead and hit me in the comment box. Tell me what you think about this matter. You know, you agree, you disagree, hit me up. Let me know. All right, man. Until the next time. This is Jay. I'm always keeping it real, and I'm gone.